Good evening. It would connect Hertfordshire in the north to Surrey in the southwest, linking the likes of Tottenham and Chelsea along the way. But for Crossrail 2 to stand a chance of happening, TfL needs to be more ambitious and the Mayor needs to get behind it. That's the conclusion of a key committee in the London Assembly. The project would be a successor to the Elizabeth line, but is stuck in the sidings after initial work was paused during the pandemic. Here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
The Elizabeth line is the jewel in the crown of London's public transport. There are now 800,000 journeys a day. But Crossrail, as it was originally known, was supposed to be followed by a second line, Crossrail 2.
There were people working on it, the Mayor was looking at it, and there was a good central government sense that it might go ahead, but then under the previous government, under Boris Johnson's prime ministership, it was all swept aside and effectively TfL were told it's not going to happen.
This promotional video shows Crossrail 2 running from Clapham Junction in the south to Tottenham Hale in the north, with connections at both ends to the existing railway network. Today, a report from a London Assembly committee called on Sadiq Khan to revive the project.
I think what the Mayor needs to do is demonstrate, using the evidence from this project, that it's absolutely possible and start talking up the project and showing how it can be done. And by doing that, I think you can get some momentum then from government to give London the authority to get on with it.
In Chelsea, where a station would be built on the King's Road, some locals were enthusiastic.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Would I use it? Yes.
The more transport to get around London, the better.
But there's also opposition here.
These trains are very big and very large numbers of people could come out at any one time onto the King's Road, and Chelsea isn't really designed to take huge numbers of people all at once.
The then Mayor, Ken Livingstone, began digging holes for the Elizabeth line, or Crossrail 1, in 2002. But even then, there were money worries, as I reported at the time. Line 1 alone will cost £9 billion, and the same again for the north-south route. And no one yet has come up with the money. It would be another 20 years before the Queen was able to open the line now named in her honour. The cost of building Crossrail 2 is currently estimated at around £40 billion. That's twice the price of the Elizabeth line, and the main reason why the project has stalled. But does it have to be that expensive?
Britain is definitely one of the worst performers when it comes to delivering new transport, and especially delivering new transport cheaply. So Spain can deliver a new underground line for up to 1/10 the cost that the UK can.
The London Assembly report concludes that the Treasury has too much power over major projects. And schemes could be simpler and cheaper if the Mayor was allowed to call the shots.
Simon, how realistic is Crossrail really?
TfL says it's a long-term aspiration and it's talking to the government about safeguarding the route from developers, but that's not the same as actively planning the scheme, let alone raising the money. And it's got more pressing priorities. The DLR extension, for example, it's got to come up with a plan to raise almost £2 billion. Then there's the Bakerloo line extension and the West London orbital. And all the time, don't forget that it took 21 years to get Crossrail, the Elizabeth line, from drawing board to working railway. So I don't see it coming anytime soon, probably for at least a generation.
OK, all right. Thanks very much indeed, Simon.
Next tonight, undignified and unacceptable. The words used by multiple agencies to describe the state of emergency care at an East London hospital. A patient who spent 40 hours on a trolley at Queen's in Romford has compared the hallways to a war zone, with corridors forced into makeshift wards as the system becomes overwhelmed. Well, footage shared with ITV News shows dozens of patients in beds lining the hospital walls, with staff trying to provide care in busy walkways. Healthcare bodies have described the situation as a national emergency, while the hospital itself is pleading for funds to expand its overstretched A&E. Our political correspondent Simon Harris reports.
The casualty department at Queen's Hospital in Romford is overflowing with patients. There's not enough room on the wards, so corridors are lined with beds. These shocking pictures, filmed this week, were given to ITV News.
There was no dignity. I was crying all the time.
Catherine, who had a fall at her home in Hainault, was on a trolley for 2 days and was wheeled into a toilet for an ECG.
I said, I don't want to use the loan now. She said, oh no, we're going to do your ECG. I said, in here? She said, yeah. And then she just wheeled the equipment over, put it all on me, done the ECG.
James, a retired lorry driver from Rainham who suffers dizzy spells, was discharged today after spending 2 nights in a wheelchair, his second stay at the hospital in 7 days.
A nightmare. The nurses can't drive those trolleys. One girl hit the wall 19 times. You know, I felt every one. But, I'm glad to get out of there.
It's madness in there. Staff are fantastic, but it's just not enough funding is going to the NHS.
Queen's is less than 20 years old, but health bosses say accident and emergency can no longer cope. The Hospital Trust apologised today, admitting that it wasn't right or fair to treat patients in this way. But the Trust added that corridors were safer than leaving them outside in ambulances. We showed our pictures to the Chief Executive.
It's very challenging to see people in distress in our hospitals because of how busy they are. And what our staff are trying to do is to make sure that the sickest patients get seen first. Sometimes that means that other people will wait longer than they perhaps should do, but we always try to do our very best to make sure that people get the care they need.
The hospital is in the Conservative constituency of Romford, while the neighbouring MP for Ilford North is the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting.
His constituents use Queen's Hospital as well, so he really needs to ensure the government put the money in, get a new A&E established at Queen's Hospital so that people can go confidently knowing that they're going to be put in a ward.
Mr Streeting said NHS hospitals were under the sort of pressure normally only seen on New Year's Eve.
I wouldn't want to be treated in those conditions. I wouldn't want someone I love to be treated in those conditions. And that's why we've committed over the course of this Parliament to get rid of corridor care altogether and to see year-on-year improvements in urgent and emergency care.
Barking, Havering and Redbridge NHS Trust outlines its mission on its website. It says its hospitals want to deliver care that staff are proud of and patients are happy with. Simon Harris, ITV News, Romford.
Good evening. When Sadiq Khan was elected mayor, he promised to make tackling homelessness a priority. Last year, he said he would end rough sleeping altogether by 2030. But the numbers tell a different story. Since 2015, the number of people living on London's streets has increased by more than 60%. And the charities working to help them tell us they're seeing 5 or 6 new people using their services every single day. With this special report, here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
Hello, good morning. Outreach team, Eva and Callum from Mungo's. Just seeing if we can help you this morning.
It's shortly after 6 in the morning and Callum and Eva are on their morning round. They're checking up on rough sleepers in doorways in central London. Their patch includes some of London's most affluent areas: Victoria, Pimlico, Knightsbridge and Belgravia. They offer help and, crucially in winter, advice.
You do need a good stack of cardboard in order to kind of shelter yourself from the concrete, cold from the concrete, and people aren't really using enough cardboard, so we give advice around that.
Sometimes they might need help with benefits, with their health, with drug and alcohol support, with migration issues, so all of those things we can offer.
We always carry with us 2 naloxone, so this is for if someone's experiencing an overdose, we can use that.
Westminster has more rough sleepers than any other London borough. The heart of the capital has always been a magnet, but the broken asylum system has made things worse.
There have been particular issues with the Home Office around people who've successfully had their claims process not being rehoused effectively in their local areas. So there's more work that the Home Office needs to do to ensure that people are not leaving asylum accommodation and ending up on our streets.
In the neighbouring borough of Camden, a camp has been growing steadily next to the busy Euston underpass. The Mayor has promised to end rough sleeping by 2030, but according to the latest head count, the numbers are going up. On this strip of land alone, there are now 50 tents. According to the database Chain, more than 13,000 rough sleepers were seen in London in the 12 months up until April this year. That's up 10% on the previous year and an increase of more than 60% in the last 10 years. It comes as no surprise to the charity Connection at St Martin's, which provides hot meals, showers and a launderette next to Trafalgar Square.
We see roughly about 5 to 6 new people each day, and we're open 5 days a week. So if you do the numbers, I mean, it tells you that the problem's growing each and every day.
Michael, who's nearly 40, has been rough sleeping since he was 15.
I made a couple of wrong choices in life, and I've had to live with it.
He spent time in jail and says he's addicted to drugs, and he knows what winter rain means.
When you get wet and you are homeless, you can't get dry. your body doesn't produce enough heat to dry. So you end up getting damp. And then after 2 days of being damp, you catch a cold.
And in Michael's case, it led to pneumonia and a hospital stay. Charities like Connection have success stories. Michael Bird ended up on the streets in 2022, but now has a flat.
I would say they saved my life. Like, I come in and, like, to begin with, it wasn't like, you don't get accommodation straight away, like, it just doesn't work that way. But it's really nice to just come in and, you know, see a friendly face. It's very difficult once you've been on the street to kind of readjust to being in everyday life. Like, you know, you're no longer sleeping on the streets. Like, it took forever to get comfortable in a bed because I was so used to being on the streets.
Charity workers like Eva and Callum will again be out tonight helping rough sleepers survive on the streets of London.
Well, look, ending rough sleeping by 2030, Simon, seems like a tall order now. Has the Mayor said anything about this today?
Well, we did ask City Hall if the Mayor or Deputy Mayor for Housing would tell us more about the plan to end rough sleeping, but we're told they weren't available, although a spokesperson pointed out that Sadiq Khan announced earlier this year a £10 million investment. But talking to the various charities, it's clear there is no simple answer. It's a huge challenge. The lack of affordable housing and the lack of hospitals is certainly one contributing factor. And another one, quite frankly, is the problem of tackling the drug addiction and alcohol addiction, which is so prevalent in the lives of many rough sleepers. Whatever it is, whether it's housing or tackling illness, mental health, addiction, all of it is going to cost a lot of money.
It is, yeah. Thanks very much indeed, Simon.